Hello fellow gamers, Lukey P with Lukey P Gaming here once again. This is my third episode in my Supreme Ruler Ultimate Let's Play series. So we're continuing on from episode 2. I had thought about doing a few things off camera, but I thought actually as we're just starting off it's probably helpful to see how you get started on the game. I'm sure later on in the series I will start doing things off camera just to avoid the series getting too long, but if you have any particularly strong views on any of that, do let me know in the comments. So like I say, we're going to pick up where we left off. Today we'll probably look at finishing off some coal power plants. We may start building some coal plants themselves down here, where you see we've got a bit of coal, and actually around here where we've got some oil as well, because if we put some good supply stuff in there we could potentially boost both our coal and our oil up. So let's get going. Okay, tips on close combat. Okay, that's interesting. This is just telling me we started some construction last time. This is my my minister getting very agitated that I've decided not to start any research yet. We may actually look at modifying that, so let's have a look. So we are making 13 million-ish a day. I think I'd rather start buying in some industrial goods. So how we're going to do that is you can buy it off the market. As I said in episode 1, I think it was, you can buy it off the market by putting this up. So if I put this up, I would spend, say, if I put it up to there, I'd spend up to 200 million on of my money on getting in 100,000 industrial supplies. Odds are I wouldn't actually spend that much, because you can see the market is a fair chunk below that at the moment. The other way to do it is to go and find some friendly countries like the UK and see if they've got any reserves they fancy selling. So they've got 122,000 in reserve. So let's say I asked them for 70,000 of that, which is worth 100 million. How much would I have to give them for that? I'd have to give them 110. So a bit more than the market price, which isn't ideal. Yeah. Let's see about Germany, the other country we did some trading with. Yeah, so they're actually slightly worse. Okay, that's because we haven't done much trading with those countries yet. So what the other thing we can do is we can look at who are your top exporters of various things. So we can see Italy are a top exporter, might be worth talking to them. Yeah, no, they want a lot for their reserves as well. But given Italy are producing a fair amount of that, I wonder if we may... No, they've got plenty of oil. But you see, what we can do later on is these countries are all running at huge oil deficits, so we can trade them our oil, and not only will it we'll be able to sell it for a large markup, we'll also make them more friendly towards us, and in future willing to give us better deals on industrial goods. So at the moment I think we're going to let this tick on for a few more days and just keep making money. Don't need to know that, thank you. So you can see as the days tick on, we are keep this panel closed. Highlighted button. There we go. Okay. So you can see as we're ticking on, we're making plenty of money here. Britain announces naval build-up. Announces plans to significantly modernise the Royal Navy with the construction of 38 new warships. Generally, I tend not to comment on those things because I like to stay neutral. Domestic consumers are unable to meet their need for petroleum due to high domestic prices. I recommend we lower the price. And actually, just as a demonstration, so here we go. So we are selling it for 180% markup, which granted is pretty darn high. Now interestingly here, if I tell him agree lower domestic pricing, let's go to a different menu. So we would marked it up at 180%. So I'm going to say agree lower domestic pricing. Let's tick on a day, and then we go and look, and you see they haven't actually done anything to domestic pricing because I've locked him out of it. So you actually need to come in and lower it yourself, which is fine. So let's put it down to 13. Let's go a little bit lower actually. 12. Now what's this is going to do two things. So it's going to increase your demand from your population, because so currently they're demanding 38,000. When the price goes down they demand more. It will reduce the income you get from selling to your population, which is something you want to be wary of. But because you're selling more, generally it will tend roughly to balance out. I've never really experimented with it enough to know if it balances out, but you're selling more, and you can see your domestic price is way above the market price. So the market price is 6 and I'm selling this for 11, so we're still making good profits on what we're selling to our home market. Let's just watch as we tick over a day and see that go up. So it's 38,000 at the moment. There you are, look, up to 44,000. So you really can throttle your economy a bit by altering these domestic prices. Materials demand, yeah, we don't really care about those. At some point soon we may start researching just to calm our friendly advisor down, which leads you to what you actually want to research here. Now I really like transportation improvements because it puts your improvements by up to 30%. Now any problem is if you look at the cost of it. Now granted it's spread over a long time, so it's a $1 billion basically spread over roughly a year. If you look at some of the other ones, it's like this one, it's 300 million, but it's only spread over 50 days. So this will actually cost more per day than the transportation will. So let's go for transportation improvements and see what that does to our expenses. So look at that, it's gone from less than 1 million to 2 million. So we're spending 2.77 million per day now on researching, which is okay. We're going to put this right up because it's not much money, and improving our research efficiency is generally something I like. There you go, finally got to max after lots of clicking. Okay, let's keep ticking along, seeing how we're doing. We're still making money, and the good thing is all the while this is, yeah, fine, all the while this is ticking along and we're making money, we are stockpiling oil to the tune of about 100,000 a day, which is very helpful. We're also building our engineers up. Let's see where this man is deployed. we don't actually want you deployed. So let's give you the order to go to reserves. There you go. Okay, so I think it may be some time to do a bit more trading now. So let's have a look at trading some oil to the UK. So I'm selling 19 million and I'm getting 32 million, which is good. You know, that's a 50% markup, so that is pretty nice. There you go, diplomatic exchange is successful. Research recommendations, steel barges, no, thank you. So what we are going to do is, you can see we're starting to get low on industrial goods. We had calculated it out, so we had enough to build all those three. What we want to do now, I think, is probably get enough to build another three, and the idea is that we are exploiting the fact that we've got engineers rushing the production a bit on site, which just it means you compress the spend and the demand on industrial goods into a shorter time frame, which puts them up, but you get the site online quicker, which means you start producing quicker. So if we have a look at how much it would cost to build some more industrial, so we're going to need 3 times 16, which is 48. So we're going to need at least 50,000 industrial goods from the UK to cover that. So let's go for a little bit of buffer. Let's try for 60. So I want 96 million for that. What does Germany want? They also want 96 million. Is Italy even? No, Italy hasn't got that much. So we'll trade with the UK. The reason being that at this point in history, the UK are actually the largest empire in the world. So despite the money here, over time, if this game goes the way it normally does, the UK will slowly creep up to the top of that. It may struggle to overtake China depending on how China is doing because of the size of its population, so the size of its internal market, but generally the UK end up pretty rich, and the reason is it's historically, before the British Empire fell, they have just huge swaths of territory. So India is a UK colony. You've got large chunks of Africa, which are colonies of the UK, as well as other European powers, but generally the UK is powerful on this, and so it's helpful to trade with them and establish good relationships. So that's helped us get some more industrial goods. So we're going to those coals in, and then away we go. Now you see here we are still making money, which is good. Not as much as before, you'll notice. So we're only going up by about 8 million a day. So 8 million a day we are still going up by, so that means I'm going to start a second research project. So I'm just trying to have a look at what these land force improvements, that's a handy thing to get to. So we need early molecular biology to start off on that route. So 120 million. So there you go, 120 million. Research time is 120 days. This is probably going to increase our costs by $1 million a day. If you look at that, yeah, it's still going up by about the same as before, which is fine. Research recommendation. I disagree. Construction began. Yep, fine. Tips kills a spell. Fine. Let's just keep ticking on time. Keep ticking on time. So we are waiting for, yes, there we are. There is our third engineer. So let's send them over there. You will get mechanized engineers later on in the game who can move a lot quicker than this. Right now we are waiting for a rather slow engineer to amble across there, and you saw a little sign up there, a little kind of flash, which means that our first coal plant has finished. So what that's going to do is it's going to increase our electricity production, and now you will see here these have flagged up as having problems. Now why have these flagged up as having problems? It's because we're no longer able to import sufficient, and this is why we started building electricity goods. So the price of electricity has rocketed up. We're now at $25. So what has happened is we're no longer buying in enough electricity to cover our demand, and so some of our industries are starting to go without, which is bad for our economy. So we're going to whack this up, because I'd rather have electricity than not. I'll put this up to 45 and see how that goes. Okay, so this is our first trade offer which has come in. So you can see this is, so they're offering to trade across 90 days. So they'd give us 158 a day, and they'd want this much from us a day. Now the simple truth is they're offering us 20 million worth of goods, and they want 42 million from us for it, which is all well and good, but no thank you. We're only looking for offers where we benefit financially. So time keeps on ticking on. You'll see soon another one of these will come online. There you go, and you'll see it's just starting to close the shortfall. What it is doing though is it's creating a bigger and bigger shortage of coal. So we're going to put this up to about 10, because let's put it to 11 actually, because we're becoming quite dependent on coal. So you can see we're using 10,000 a day, we're producing none, so we're going to eat through that in about 11 days and have to start buying from the market, which is okay, because at the moment our production costs and our market costs are equal. Not that we're actually producing anything, so I really don't know where the game gets that production cost from when you're not making anything. I guess it's a theoretical one. We'll just hotkey these, which you do by pressing Control 1, which means in future if I'm over here I can press 1 twice and it will snap me to where these guys are. For some reason my units fancy a little walk around. I'm going to send them to reserves, because they don't need to be wandering around. So we're doing okay. So we're not running out of industry goods. I mean we are, as in we're using more than we are. And you see how prices of these go up over time. So originally we had a fair amount of buffer on it, and now actually the auto purchase probably needs a little bit more leeway. And the reason it needs more leeway is industry goods at their most basic, if they're not being used for construction, are being used to make consumer goods. And you want to make consumer goods because they sell for quite a lot of money. So you make $400-ish per unit you sell. So I'm selling 768, so I'm making a fair amount of money off those in terms of my internal sales and internal market. So we're ticking along, we're still making about 9-10 million a day, which is absolutely fine. Now that was, you notice it was struggling a little bit there, it was clearly processing something. So Nicaragua has become a dictatorship. Well, I can hardly object to that on the basis I'm a dictatorship, but again I don't really comment on these things. So they did sever all their diplomatic relationships with us, which tends to happen. Again, I mean, it's just not worth it. So these countries, they're offering things because they know we're running a deficit on industry goods, and so they see what in their mind is mutually beneficial. They sell us industry goods and we pay them over the market odds. We don't want to do that. If we want to trade anything, we will look to get a diplomatic trade deal, or we will look to buy at the market price if we can. And we're only using, we're using 1,000 a day. There we are. So we've finished that now. So we're just ticking one more day to show what happens. And lo and behold, it drops back down to us running. We're now running a slight deficit on these, which is moderately surprising, but that is the way it is. So we got 19,000 spare. So let's have a look, see what that's done to our power production. You can see just how difficult it is sometimes to get power up, because we've built 6 power plants and lo and behold our production has not really moved. Now that said, our supply is only 54%. So arguably what we want to think about doing is putting in some kind of air base into the capital, because that will significantly improve our supply. So it will help boost that consumer goods plant there, it will help boost those coal power plants, and it's always a bit of a balancing game as to which you choose to do first. Do you go for fixing supply, or do you build some more coal power plants? So what I'm going to do is let's just have a look at how much an air base costs. So that's 104 million at the moment, which, given we've got 1.4 million, 1.4 billion rather, is not a lot. So we will move our engineers down to the capital. We will have a look at how much we need for an air base. So we need 4,000, which we can easily cover out of that and wait for an opportunity. The other thing we're going to do is, it will cost a bit of money, but we're just going to build a bridge across there because it helps the supply line. So you can see that is, I'm surprised it's saying that we've got unmet. I never quite understand this, why we've got unmet when we've got reserves. I suspect it's to do with supply and it's just taking a little while to catch up. But you see just how slow these units are, because they're moving across water rather than going around there. They've elected to take that route. Dum da dum da dum da dum. Right, what I think we're going to do is we're going to start them, because construction helps the hexes all around. So if we stop here, it will help build the bridge, and it will help the construction of the air plant in the capital. And just to show that, if we look here, you can see it should tick down 63 days because they're helping build it a little bit quicker than they would be doing otherwise. We can ignore all of these. Yeah, tip about war preparations. Yeah, that's kind of obvious. Stockpile military goods when you're going to war. Let's have a look so we can sell a bit more oil now. So we'll sell. There you are, you're getting twice the price now from the UK. And let's sell a bit to Germany. We've still got the attempted industrial deal. Sell a bit to Germany. That's over double. Let's see how much we've got left. Once those deals are done, so there you are, diplomatic exchanges were successful. This is where you want to be slightly careful if you want to keep your stockpiles. So because it's sending 10% to here, on the off chance we get to $8 per unit, and you see the price of oil has really collapsed in the world market. So it's basically gone down to $4. So we really don't want to be selling on the world market, and in fact under those conditions I don't even want to put any into the stockpile just in case. Not that it would sell until 8. But sorry, so what you wanted to be careful of is if you've got say 1.29 million here and the price does hit 8, you could find yourself eating into your stockpile, when in fact it's always nice to keep a little bit of a buffer, I find, particularly on oil, because if there was a war your military would grind to a halt without it. We've got another 2 million. Let's see if the US are interested at all. I doubt they will be, because they make a surplus of oil. Just sell a bit more than that to, yeah, they only sell for equal. What about Japan? Oh, wrong side of the world. So they've got a big stockpile, but let's see if they want to. No, they will eventually when their stockpile runs down. Yeah, a lot of the countries of the world at this time, as you may guess, end up going to war for oil. Okay, let's trade that little bit with Italy, just to start building up relationships with them. So we're doing, we're doing absolutely fine here. We've got petroleum, which is helping fund our economy. We've got industry goods, which we're struggling on, but we can import. And as long as we can import cheaper through diplomacy, we'll be doing all right. But you can see you start to get to the point where countries don't have much spare. So look at that. The UK, because they're running out, they want an absolutely massive amount for industrial goods now, and this is what does tend to happen in the early game, which is why a rush to become self-sustaining in industrial goods is often a key early strategy. So Germany want twice. Let's see what Italy have got. Italy want what, 4 times. So we're going to have to buy off the market, which happens when you can't get decent deals on this. The market price, as you'll see, is starting to creep up. So what we'll do is we'll say we will buy up to that, and given how much money we've got, I'm perfectly happy to spend a couple of 100 million on this to really up it. And what will happen is, so we'll watch this go through a day. There you go. So you couldn't buy all 100,000 at once, because basically you've bought what's available and the market availability has gone to 4 to poor, and the price has shot right up because someone is buying en masse, namely us. So if I look at the world stats, you can see everybody else is importing like, you know, a couple of 100 tons a day. We've done 17,000, so we've basically bought the spare slack in the market. So we now need to sit, and we now need to wait for that to start dropping back down. So you can see it's gone back to excellent, and this will start dropping down, and when it gets to that price, that's now in effect the new floor in the market. When it gets to that price or below it, boom, I buy it up, drive the price back up, and the availability goes to poor. But that's fine because it's rebuilding our stock here, which is what we want. And what we're probably going to do is, given we've got these guys here in the middle helping build stuff, we're bring their new compatriot over, and we will build, because we're at the point where coal isn't going up but electricity is still a problem for us. We are going to build some more coal power plants here. Let's plop 2 of those down and see what happens. Again, we'll just check the engineers are helping out. So 79, is that? 77, yeah, so they are helping out there. We're still going up by 7 million a day. We've still got a fair old buffer of industrial goods, so we got 70,000. We're building 2 of those at the moment, and they cost 16,000 each, so we're building 30,000 units worth. So we can build another 2 because the airbase, I suspect, is getting nearish to completion. It's only 2,000 because it's halfway there roughly. So we'll build a few more. As you can tell from the way I'm jumping around and doing maths, being able to do simple maths does help in this game. You can see we're starting to bounce up and down, so we're reaching the point at which our economy is reaching some kind of equilibrium. We're still generally growing, and it's always worth remembering that our safety net is we are getting in more oil per day than we were before. You may wonder why we are now producing more oil than we were before. So at the start of the game, I think we were making about 100,000 extra per day. We're now up to 125,000 ish. That will be because of the benefit of our supply going up. So if I look at this now, our supply on this is now 58%. When we looked at that at the start of the game, it was way lower. I can't remember how much it was. I think it was something like 15% or something ridiculous like that, maybe 21%. But basically we're now getting a lot more out because we've invested in our infrastructure here. So our infrastructure quality rating has gone right up, and that's helping us because it's helping us to produce more for the same maintenance costs. And as long as you can export the more you produce, you're doing fine. You'll see electricity, so this is what happens. So the blue thing here I think means that the price on the market is 20% or more. Yeah, so there you are, 27 is 21% margin. So it's telling you that that's an opportunity. Now it would be an opportunity for an exporter. It's actually a threat and for us because we are having to buy in electricity. So that is a suck on our economy, which is why we're building electric plants over here. Okay, so let's just tell these guys to help out with construction. So I think there we are going to call it a day for this video. Thank you for watching. I'm Lukey P. Do let me know what you thought of the video. Drop me a comment, drop me a like, drop me a subscribe if you want. That'd be really great. and I will see you next time.